My new intro. I'm going to test it out. Hopefully it works.
Your falling face first in the ground. Don't want nothing, but I see you. A faded place, a love I found. How you're so far in my dreams too. I can't change your past. Could you hear me laugh more? I can't change your path. Will you stay one last song?
Have you ever met a guy like me? Have you ever met a man with a plan like me? Have you ever seen someone turn none to someone who got the world tucked up in their hand like me? I can never change my faith, I can never hold hands, give God my grace. I can never not cry when I see your face. You say I got a lot on my plate, girl, I see that. 100 mil in the safe, no I need that. See a smile on your face, yeah I need that. No, I'm trying to get the cake that can take me to the place that'll make me feel safe, I don't need that. Tell me about the way you felt, I can tell you about the things that I said myself. I got a lot of things sitting on my shelf.
Hi. Oh, hi, Mad Villain. Hi, Shanna. Thank you guys so much for being here, and anybody else that's watching. Sometimes all the comments don't come through. So, I do need to address something up front, and it's sort of the motivating factor of why I'm streaming today. Besides that, you guys have asked me to. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you guys are enjoying what I'm putting out. In regards to the issues going on within a certain community on YouTube, there are some people that have tried to dox me, and I want to make it very clear from the get-go. I find that highly immoral and unethical. I'm not a public figure, right? I'm just like a random chick in a cabin in the woods, talking about the False Memory Syndrome Foundation and its board members. So, Tony showed a little picture of my nursing license and it's active. I'm not going to show it here because I don't really feel that I need to. Another reason why I think that this is very pertinent is, and I've already spoken to some of these individuals. I deal with, and it's not that I'm bombarded with it, I want to be honest, but victims do reach out to me, and I respect their anonymity, and I would never dox them. It's just, I don't know why I have to explain why that's wrong. So please, I'm asking politely, don't dox me. Thank you very much. I obviously can't control what anybody does, but it's neither here nor there. So, in light of all of that, this victim that reached out to me, and I will be speaking in very, very general terms, had a very interesting experience in their youth. And I decided to take a quick look at subproject 136. So if you're not familiar with MK Ultra subproject 136, I believe it's titled ESP. We're going to be looking at documents, guys. We're absolutely going to be looking at stuff. Now, what's the correlation with that and brain warfare? So I think in my second or third stream, might be my third one, where it's Jolly West, dressed as a saint, which I found quite funny. I showed where Alan Dulles termed, brain warfare at a speech. And then, less than a year later, Jolly gets hired as the top psychiatrist at the University of Oklahoma, but whatever. So, I'm asking everyone, how many coincidences does it take until it's a conspiracy? Really? I want to know. I really do. But we're going to go through a couple of things because I got to talk about the False Memory Syndrome Foundation. How can I resist? I can't. And I also found a lovely, lovely treasure trove of some books and some articles regarding some individuals that are on the False Memory Syndrome Foundation. So, why don't we start here? Because, I had a conversation with actually two people in like the past 2 weeks. Thank you guys for reaching out to me. It means a lot to me. I will never put your information out there ever. But I've had two conversations about the False Memory Syndrome Foundation and UFO, I think UAP, is that what it's called? Alien abduction experiences. And I'll find it. I'm not going to find it today. I wanted to focus on the subproject and some of these publishings from the False Memory Syndrome Foundation. But the relation between individuals who may have had implanted memories. There's a difference between implanted memories and repressed memories or recovered memories. I've talked about the science of the brain splitting, so to speak, or multiple personality disorder. And I'm going to show you guys here in a little bit in subproject 136 for ESP. They literally say that they're going to do it to kids, including electroshock therapy. Yes. I don't, again, how many coincidences until it's a conspiracy? That's all I'm asking. I think that the whole MK Ultra, and I'm just, this is another point that I'm going to continue to drive home because it is something that drives me a little bit crazy. But the whole like MK Ultra super trippy man, Timothy Leary, we got acid. It's really cool. And the Grateful Dead, no, it's not cool. None of it's cool. Because this was all preceded by Artichoke and Bluebird. And some of that was running under the OSS, which was the CIA's predecessor. So we really don't know what they were doing. And in the name of national security, they don't have to tell us anything, right? That's just what they say. So let me pull up right here because man, I'm beginning to question, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, before we get started with the False Memory Syndrome Foundation stuff. I'm beginning to question if people are just being like willfully ignorant or they just don't want to admit it. But for the professionals out there, I don't know. Should I start a petition? I'm being dead serious. How many times do we have to read disgusting content? Like what Ralph Underwager said in Paducah. Because guess what? He wasn't the only one. Okay? I gotta drive these points home, guys, because you can't separate the two. I mean, I guess you could, who am I? I don't think that we can. So let's pull this up. All of this stuff I've started having to just save to my computer as a PDF. I'm just going to let you guys know. If you guys want the links, let me know. I'm happy to send them. Give me 1 second. Okay, so this was a request that was made to the Association for the Protection of Children's Rights in Society. And this is in Holland, Denmark, and Norway. And if you guys will remember, Ralph Underwager was a professional witness for hundreds of cases. So the Mr. Bubbles stuff that I was talking about, that was in Australia. Because he was a busy boy. All right. So right here. The Committee for the Investigation of Claims of the Paranormal. Oh. We have other FMSF advisory board members. Well, isn't that interesting? Because Martin Gardner's on my list to cover as well. We're going to cover everybody. Oh, and look, it's our girl boss, Elizabeth Loftus. Surprise, surprise. Now, I don't know if you guys knew this, but there was a magician on the False Memory Syndrome Foundation's board? Why? Why? Why was there a magician on the False Memory Syndrome Foundation's board? I would like a logical answer from someone, anyone. I don't care. It doesn't make sense to me. What it sounds like to me, well, sounds like someone using hypnotism and magic to harm children. But I'm going to show you. That way I'm not just here digressing. So, Mr. James Randi, a magician, FMSF board member, and he used to be a high profile committee for the investigation of claims of the paranormal spokesman. Okay, now, okay, and also on this board, okay, so we've got Vern Billa there. So look here, we've got Paducah again, and it references Ralph Underwager's commentary, and that he was the co-founder of the false memory movement. Having sex with children can be seen as part of God's will. Well, isn't that interesting? So James Randi, the magician, he is an author. This individual, Vern Bulla, he is the human sexuality books editor of Prometheus Books. Okay, so the human sexuality section of the Prometheus book catalog under Vern Bulla's name includes titles such as Children's Sexual Encounters with Adults, a Scientific Study. Oh, does that sound scientific to anybody? You already know my answer. I don't even know what the sentence means. Armed robbery orgasm? I'm not. I'm good. Anyways, so S&M, obviously, because these people are sociopaths. Vandalized love maps, paraphilic outcome of 7 cases in pediatric sexology. Wow. Wow. Isn't that lovely? That this is what these people are doing. And honestly, this person's request, so see, look where this was written in Treating Abuse Today in 95 and 96. All of this. So whoever requested this about this publisher, they knew exactly what they were looking for. And I'm grateful that they did. Because for some reason, here in the United States, at a bare minimum, besides, a very small number of professional individuals that I can locate. And if you guys want to read that off the screen, you can, because I'm not going to, because it's disgusting. Most people still adopt and practice this ideology. I think that I've made a very strong argument for that. And look at the ages here, between 9 and 13. All right, moving on. See, look at this is where it got cut off. I'm assuming when they were uploading this, or I don't know if that was on the original print, but these are the kinds of studies that these people were doing. And Mr. Vern Bulla, he was listed as a board member of Paducah. Imagine that. Imagine that. And look here, because I haven't pulled up the actual Paducah article for anybody yet. But I think that this commentary is relevant. Halita Wakefield, who also took part in the interview for Paducah, said that she thought it would be nice if someone could do a longitudinal study of 100 12-year-old boys in loving relationships with pedophiles. And then look at here. More recently on the internet, Dr. Underwager posted further thoughts in which he emphasized his belief that the criminalization of sex was destroying the social compact. Very interesting. Very, Very interesting. And here's some people calling these things out and asking why. Why? Why would we allow such things? Why would we allow these people near children? Why would we allow these people to provide, you know, professional witness testimony? Because most of these people, not all, but most, as I've stated, child sex abuse cases, small and large, trafficking cases, and mass casualty events, right? So, why? Seems kind of sus to me. I'm just saying. Oh, hi, everybody. Hi, Tom. Hi, I'm so glad you're here. And hi, Catherine. Hi, Tawny. Yay. Thank you, Shanna, about my hair. All right, so I'm not going to lie, guys. I had to hunt all over Hell's Half Acre to find this stuff as far as these documents for subproject 136. So let me get out of here and let me see. Because if this closed on me, well, maybe I'll just like run outside. Let me see. And by run outside, I mean yeet myself out of a window. Because this stuff is so long. And these documents are so old. Give me 1 second. Okay. And hold on, guys. Bear with me. We're getting there. Nope. Shoot, where did it go? There we go. Found it. Okay. So, we're going to scroll through these together. Sorry, guys. I have like a million FOIA and Black Vault things open, and some of these documents are super blurry. So, like I said, MK Ultra had countless subprojects. Some of them are still not declassified. This is just a matter of public record. We know that. And so, therefore, we don't know what they are and when they started and when they ended. On the back side of that, the projects that are listed, some of them don't have end dates. This should be concerning to people. In my opinion, it is just my opinion. Maybe it doesn't matter to other people, but it does matter to me, specifically because these things talk about kids. And I think that that's completely unacceptable. But, I'm just a random citizen, right? So I guess that it doesn't really matter. So let me see where I want to start. Because I thought this one was really interesting and I wasn't even really looking for it. But it talks about sex and kids, and this is in 1951. So here we go. I mean, they just like redact everything. They might as well just throw a bucket of paint on the paperwork. However, okay, July 9th, 1951. Okay, hypnotism. And it's quite silly because I'm going to talk to you guys at another time about G.H. Estabrooks. But back then, they thought that that book was top secret, and a lot of it's in here, and so much of it is redacted. So I just find that very funny. So whoever this was, because we don't know, it's all redacted. On July 2nd, 1951, approximately 1 p.m., the instruction began with someone relating to the student some of his, experiences sexually. Someone stated that he had constantly used hypnotism as a means of inducing young girls to engage in intercourse with him. Young girls. That's what that says. They're not going to tell us the ages. Okay? They're just not. And anybody that wants to debate about that, I'm not here for it because I've never seen anything contradicting it otherwise. And these things matter in the context of the victims. That's all that I care about. And I don't want anybody to get it twisted any other way because, again, I'm not here for the drama, guys. I'm really not. But there has been a lot of drama, stuff that I didn't really ask for. Um, but when it comes to victims and attempting to slander my name, no, I don't get paid for this. I don't get anything for this, and I'm not asking for anything for it. And I think that I've been very clear about that. But these things matter because I have had people reach out to me that have had these things done to them. Okay? We need to get a better understanding of this so that way we all know how to talk about it and then we can all move forward. But that's just my 2 cents. So give me 1 second because, again, I don't really know where it was. So let's pull this bad boy up here. I don't know if you guys have heard of Dr. Colin Ross. He's super smart, and he's really one of the top authors about these sort of experiments. And I'm not going to sit here and waste y'all's time digging through like 1,000 of these documents. You see how blurry those things are, and half of it's blacked out. Dr. Colin Ross has been kind enough to transcribe almost all of this into numerous books. Very intelligent man. There are multiple like podcast, YouTube interviews. And actually, I was listening to a documentary where he was talking about the LSD experiments in New York, the Bender Gestalt. Yeah. Loretta Bender, that's where I learned that from. And that's how I was able to find that book and verify it. So let me just show you guys what he wrote because this is what I found. I was not going to come on here unless I could find subproject 136 referencing children in regards to these sorts of experimentation because I was almost like, maybe. I mean, I know that these people do terrible things, but I have to bring receipts, right? We have to put this stuff into context. And lo and behold, there it was. All right. Here we go. So here's an overview. So, Bluebird. So we've got Bluebird, we've got Artichoke, MK Ultra, MK Search. Whoop, didn't mean to click that. Okay. And I have seen this, guys. I'll put together a stupid PowerPoint so I can take screenshots and not have to sit here and wait for 100 pages to load. Regardless, the documented mind control research includes putting brain electrodes in children as young as 11 and controlling their behavior from remote transmitters, giving them 150 micrograms of LSD per day to children age 7 and 11 for weeks and months at a time. I showed you guys that. I showed you Loretta Bender's book where she says that. Verbatim. The whole book. Oh, and meth. She was also giving them meth. I didn't know that, but when I looked in her book and she just put methamphetamine right next to it, and I said, wow, she a trailblazer or a psychopath? I don't know. Building safe houses where CIA personnel watch prostitutes turn tricks with customers. Operation Midnight Climax is what that's called. And is there anything else regarding children? So, as far as these brain electrodes, because I may sit here and kind of click through, but it does specify regarding splitting the personality, creating the trauma that is necessary for the other personalities to occur, for it to be successful. Okay? An electroshock, just all kinds of abuse. And I felt very compelled to come on and talk about that because I'm whatever. I'm going to try to pull it up while you guys are on here because there's 12 of you still watching. Hello, I'm so glad you're here. Let me see if I can find it because is this it? That would be beautiful. Maybe. Heyo. Heyo. I love when other people upload this stuff. It makes me so happy. And I'm so grateful for you. But that isn't it, because the internet is a dirty liar. Let's see. Subproject 136. Because I'm going to be honest with you guys, and this is just my 2 cents. This is the subproject that people should be talking about. Not the only one, but one of the main ones. Because they talk about doing this to kids, and it's completely insane. To me, aha, found it. Yeah, baby. All right. Sound like Donkey Kong. Okay. Oh, the archive. Another beautiful thing. So, there we go. Yeah, okay. Because bear in mind, this project was renamed twice. MK Ultra, I'm saying. So we do not know what they were doing under the OSS. I have to reiterate these facts. These things are not known, okay? Now, here we go. Okay. So, Subproject 136. Experimental analysis of extrasensory perception is moving beyond the question of whether the phenomenon, ESP, exists. The functional relationships between other personality factors and ESP skills, and what are the factors that must be considered in using ESP as a method of communication. After reading enough government documents, I know that you really have to sit there and not necessarily pick apart every single word, but you really do have to look at it. So they say that it's for 1 year. That's the proposal, right? But we don't really know if that's true because they lie. You guys know that. Okay, now I know that it was right around here. I'm not going to make anyone dizzy. If anyone's watching that closely, I love you and I'm grateful for you. And we'll get there. Now, I did find this part really interesting, and if anybody knows about this, I would love it if you reach out to me because I don't know enough about it. I've heard a couple podcasts talk about the Gifted Kids program, but this says the third is an exploration of the postulated ESP abilities of a few specially gifted subjects who will be intensively studied under flexible conditions. So I think that the wording there is really interesting as far as flexible conditions, like maybe a gifted kids program, because I've heard some really weird stuff about that. And, Jeffrey Epstein was a gifted kid. Michael Aquino's mother was a gifted kid. There's just a lot of weird stuff going on there, but I'm not here to necessarily talk about the gifted kid program. But I would love more information if someone knew. And let's see. I think it's quite hilarious. You guys read through these documents that, they discuss the ethical struggles and moral struggles that some of these doctors will have. And they recognize that, some of them are going to be just fine. And they might actually do better in the situation that while one might expect they would be uncomfortable, like doing something you shouldn't do as a doctor or a nurse, that some individuals will thrive. And I find that fascinating that they were at least willing to admit that part, that they were looking for all. Here, you know what? I'm going to stop making you guys dizzy. I'm going to hop on here. Where do we got? Who do we got here? I don't know if I can see all the chats. Hi, everybody. Jandon, you're so funny. I love Austin Powers. That was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. All of them are so funny, especially Dr. Evil. And what was the one guy? Goldfinger, right? I think that's what he was. Yeah. Just remember him saying he loved gold. So it's very funny. I'm gonna find this thing. Give me a second, because I'm gonna show you guys. Because people aren't gonna believe me. They're gonna say that I'm a spreader of misinformation and disinformation. Okay. I've got to get a better computer. Or maybe a desktop. If anybody has any recommendations about that as well, that would be great. Because I'm a total noob, as you guys already know. So, I know I'm getting close. Because this is a much clearer copy than what I was reading earlier. This would have been nice 2 hours ago. Aha, there we go. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. All right. Hi, Fancy Face. I'm glad you're here. Hello. Okay. And all right. Now, see, they just don't come out and put it up front. It's kind of, I mean, it's only 25 pages long, but where's the beginning of the sentence? Okay. The data used in this study will be obtained from group ESP experiments, which have yielded significant results. High scoring subjects, including control series and records taken after they quote unquote lost their ability from special groups such as psychotics, children, and mediums. Wow. Wow. Psychotics, children, mediums for ESP. Wow. And what is this all for? It's for brain warfare, right? Because the commies are coming. The commies are coming. This is what the commies are doing, right? So it's all in the name of national security that they're going to do this. And it's hundreds of pages, but you guys can go look at all the Senate hearings that they had about human experiments, the Human Radiation Committee. I read that to you guys from the 90s, where I think it was three women at that time, but they were children back then, named Sidney Gottlieb, Martin Orne, named these men in the same program as Artichoke and Bluebird. So it's not that these things aren't out there. I think that like maybe because it was for me for a while, like a cognitive dissonance of sorts, and I think that that's fair. Who wants to acknowledge or agree or admit that the government does this? But they do. They do. And this isn't, dramatic or for flair. But what I'm trying to do by showing these two things together is that why in the hell are people that are involved with this type of activity also on the False Memory Syndrome Foundation? Because I still have a long ways to go with that, guys. But I think I've made a very strong argument so far. So why are these individuals who I would agree are at least at a bare minimum in violation of the Hippocratic Oath, why are they around kids? Especially psychologists. Seriously. I don't get it. I really don't get it. And I'm glad that Dr. Colin Ross notes that, the Manchurian Candidate, like, whatever, that's fine. There's tons of conspiracy theories out here, right? But how many coincidences until it becomes an actual conspiracy? Because I think I've made it very clear, I think that this is a massive conspiracy. And I personally believe that the False Memory Syndrome Foundation and the stuff that's going on in contracted facilities that we don't know about, that, are very well still going on to this day, this is the house of cards. And I'm going to just give you my opinion why before I pull up the rest of this. Because you tell me if you think that this is kind or ethical to do to children. But I think that this is the house of cards. Because it would require everyone to admit, I'm not talking about anybody here, I'm saying just everyone as a, like, ontologically as a whole, the entire country at a bare minimum, that the satanic panic was real. And all those kids and all those criminals, wow, that would be a really fat, dry slice of humble pie to swallow down, wouldn't it? I think so. Imagine all the lawsuits. Are they just worried about the money? Personally, I don't think so. I don't really think that they're worried about the lawsuits. I think my 2 cents is this is the house of cards, because it would show just what they get away with in relation to children. And they do a hell of a PR campaign to sell it to us as national security. You know, that's their job. They've been doing it for decades. They do it very well. So let's pull up some of the psychiatric stuff, because this talks about the, multiple personality part, which I find very astute. All right. Okay. In other cases, drugs and psychological tricks will be used to modify attitudes. The experimenters will be particularly interested in dissociative states. I'm not going to try to pronounce that. That looks French. All right, I will try it. I lied. From the, don't make fun of me, guys, abaissement des niveaux mental. I have no idea what that means. To multiple personality in so-called mediums, and an attempt will be made to induce a number of states of this kind using hypnosis. So I talked to you guys, I think it was actually a little bit last night on Tony's stream, about the splitting of the mind, and especially with this type of trauma specifically, because this is very methodical, strategic, and well thought out. Because eventually we'll look at all of G.H. Estabrook's letters where he's begging Hoover, begging him to hire him as a hypnotist. And he says that he can hire a man or hypnotize a man without that man knowing or necessarily even going near him. He really thought highly of himself. But this type of trauma that's repeated over and over again, especially in the extremes of electroshock therapy and things like that, where there are reports of victims where, they're brought to the brink of death and then they're revived. That's going to create a lot of personalities. A lot. And remember, I showed you guys the other day that woman in Australia that was able to testify in court against her dad, I think with like 6 or 7 of her personalities. But I think she had like over 2,000 that she had created from a lifetime of very severe trauma. So all of this, these doctors, especially Jolly West, Margaret Singer, Martin Orne, 3 very spooky doctors, spooks, whatever, because they were all involved in the brainwashing stuff, right? Like, hey, we're blowing the whistle. They knew about all of this, okay? They had no business being on that board. They had no business being near children. Because quite frankly, they were pedophile sympathizers. And that's not me saying allegedly, that's my opinion. And I think that I've made a very strong argument for it. So I don't think that I need to say allegedly anymore. Let me see if I can find one other thing that I would like to show you here. And I reckon that I will, and then I'm going to look in the chat. The main reason why I came on today, guys, was because I really wanted to address the doxing thing, which I know it's like really stupid. It's stupid. I understand that, but I need to, because I have had a couple more victims reach out to me as of late, and I try to be as transparent as possible, and I want them to, feel safe, because that's all I care about, is their voice being heard. And is this one the really heavily redacted one? Cool beans. Okay, well, like I said, we're not going to sit here and dig through all of this. You guys, and I'm not saying this to be a jerk, this stuff can be Googled. It is in the Black Vault, the FOIA Black Vault. It is in the CIA reading room. I know it's a lot of reading. I know that. And I will put together a PowerPoint specifically for this subproject itself. But again, my point is, why were these doctors, psychiatrists, psychologists, whatever you want to call them, why were they doing this with the False Memory Syndrome Foundation when they had decades of records of them literally experimenting with brain implants and electroshock therapy on kids to see if they could communicate via ESP? I just would like to know. I think that these are relevant questions. I feel like I'm just screaming into the ether sometimes, and I know that you guys are here and I'm grateful. But, when I have someone reach out to me and they say, this might sound insane, or I feel crazy, or I've been told that I'm crazy, you have no idea how mad that makes me. You have no idea. I had to pull over yesterday because, no, I don't text and drive, but I was at a red light, and so I opened their message. And when I read it, as I was driving along, I got very emotional. And then I had to pull over and just, kind of gather my thoughts. Because, wow, shame on everybody, including me. At some point, I'm sure that I would have thought that this was all completely crazy. But I just don't think that there are any more excuses for anybody. And no one, no victim should ever be told that they're crazy. Ever. You got to give them space. Just listen. It goes a long way. It really does. Just so that they feel heard and that they know that you're there. And you can just let them get it out, whatever they want to get out. That's all that matters. Because these are the people that need healing. These are the people that deserve our attention. And again, a lot of these people that committed these crimes, they're no longer with us. So the day of reckoning, the, day of judgment, I already showed you guys Nuremberg isn't real. So that's not going to happen. That's how these things were allowed to exist. I mean, you guys saw Subproject 136. That first memo was from 1951. World War II was over. I'm just saying. I hope I'm laying out a decent argument for it. But maybe I'm not, and that's okay. I want to see if there was one other thing, because I think I had marked it, and if not, I'm going to get off of here because, well, I just don't have a whole lot to say. I am waiting for a friend of mine who is a fantastic researcher, specifically more about the DoD aspect of this, because I want to kind of get schooled by them so that I can broach this topic with victims a little bit more knowledgeably. Let me see. Yeah, here we go. So this is one of many committees, because just, does anybody think that it's ethical that the government was drugging people without their knowledge? It wasn't just acid, y'all. It was this kind of stuff with kids too, okay? Does anybody think that it's ethical that we're going to war to fund this type of crap? These are questions, and these are things that have to be talked about. Like I said, I don't care about being popular. Report my channel. I do not care. These are questions that have to be answered because there are victims that are still living with this stuff today. It is what it is. Deal with it. It's reality. I don't care. The Central Intelligence Agency drugged American citizens without their knowledge or consent. It used university facilities and personnel without their knowledge. It funded leading researchers. Now it says often without their knowledge, but not always. This little blue thing was me trying to mark through these pages. That way it didn't get lost. And again, for anyone who would like to demand evidence, especially from me, an individual that has replied vaguely asking that I expound upon the original question that I asked about Dr. Jolly West, and has, what do the kids say, left me on red, has left me on red for like a week. Right here, this is why you don't get to demand evidence regarding this. Perhaps most disturbing of all was the fact that the extent of experimentation on human subjects was unknown. The records of all these activities were destroyed in January 1973 at the instruction of then CIA Director Richard Helms. In spite of persistent inquiries by both the Health Subcommittee and the Intelligence Committee, no additional records or information were forthcoming, and no single individual could be found who remembered the details. Not the director of the CIA, who ordered the documents destroyed, not the official responsible for the program, nor any of his associates. Well, isn't that incredible? These people are just so well versed in the brain and mind control, but they can't seem to remember anything to save their life. I think that that's really cute. Now, this was just something that I wanted to note. So, the human subjects of biomedical and behavioral research, okay, so this commission was created to try and regulate these things. It hasn't. And right here, the DoD as well as the CIA. And again, I'm going to brush up more on these aspects specifically, especially the stuff with the DoD, because now that I've talked to someone who has gone through this, I am much more interested in understanding some of these things. And it is going to be an additional part of my focus, because I just think it's real weird that, Jolly and Margaret Sanger were working with the repatriated prisoners of war to help them, right? But all of this was already going on. And then they end up going on to the False Memory Syndrome Foundation and are two of the most prolific members of the board. I just find that very interesting. So, again, I'll ask for the last time, how many times is it a coincidence until it's a conspiracy? And how many conspiracies does it take until we start demanding answers? Because no one's showing up to save anybody, guys. And this is not political. I feel like I have to reiterate that. I don't care about politics. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys right now. I don't think the politics are real. Okay? I genuinely believe that. I don't think that they're real. Left and right, it's, what is it? Give them bread and circuses, right? And they'll be entertained. Yeah. Left and right isn't real. So if you think that like that's going to save you or save the future or anything, I would highly disagree. And again, I don't care about politics, but these things specifically, these violations of medical ethics, psychological ethics, psychiatric ethics, everything. Because if, here's the last thought that I'll leave you with. If Nuremberg was real, I'm talking about the code and the legal force behind it. I already showed you guys it's not, but, and maybe that's why they kept all of this secret for so long. Maybe, but if it was real, every single one of these people, including Jolly West, including Margaret Sanger, including Richard Offshee, including Martin Orne, all of them would have been in violation. Do we understand that? Does that make sense? Why did the rules get to change for, a small amount of people? I don't know. Is it because they think that they're smarter than everybody because of a piece of paper? Maybe. Or because of money? Maybe. I don't know. But the whole like being left on red thing, I don't particularly care. If the subject gets brought up, I will state my opinion that I think that certain individuals are quite dangerous. Especially, like I said, I've had more victims reach out to me, and I am more motivated than ever to like tear down this whole ideology because it needs to go. It's complete trash. Oh, hi, Jim Jones. I can see you now. Better get a big glass of milk with that humbly pie. Yeah, let's see. The corruption runs deep and wide, and they are so protected by a few families that have had the power forever. Bingo, Lady Veritas. I am so not ready to talk about I am not ready to talk about the nobility or the brotherhood. That's a heavy conversation that people get really weird about, but you are absolutely right, my friend. Let's see. They were trying for some sort of ultimate discovery. I think whatever they thought that might be. That's quite possible. That's quite possible. Um, they just I don't know. They think that they can do whatever the hell they want. And so what? That was like 80 years ago, right? And then like Elon's off just killing all the monkeys with his brain chips. So they still haven't figured it out because people seem to forget that he's a military contractor. He's not just some random nerd. Neither was Peter Thiel. The idea of these nerds sitting in their mom's garage or basement and, oh, I just came up with Amazon, or oh, I just came up with Google, or no, no. It's the same with Facebook and Zuck. That's a fake story. It's science fiction. I'm serious. It's science fiction. None of it's real. Facebook was it LifeLog, right? It was LifeLog. And it was Google's parent company, Alphabet, which is a CIA cutout. So imagine that. That's why Facebook asks for, like, you know, where did you move to at this time? And where did you go to school? And who do you know? What's their relation to you? What do you like? Because they're mining your data. They're mining all of your data. Because it's a spook cutout. Let's see. Last couple. Oh, is it going to show up? Left versus right is a brain rot. Yes, it is. Could not agree more, Tom. My ex-husband's grandpa was subjected to LSD experiments during the war and died of dementia in his late 60s. Fancy face, I'm so sorry. That's terrible. That's terrible. What did Tom say? I have done many acid trips and I'm not trying to hurt kids. Yeah, I know, Tom. You're like a saint. So nice. And such a gentleman. So, that's all I have for now. I know that the whole Michael Aquino thing was a little more exciting and I was super hyped up. Still, a little irritated, but it was fun. It was fun. Still haven't gotten a good refutation, and by good I mean any refutation that they hadn't already stated. So we'll see how that pans out. It's not really the hill that I'm gonna die on because someone on stage with black fingernail polish talking about how great Michael Aquino is. Well, maybe that ship has sailed. But as far as this stuff, I just wanted to come on and talk about it while it was fresh in my brain because I've got other stuff that I'm working on. And like I said, I really wanted to address the doxing thing, guys. And I would ask, and again, it's not about me, but just if anybody sees my personal information out there, if you could just let me know, I would greatly appreciate it because I'm not public anywhere. And I'm not worried for myself or anything. I just don't want my information out there at all. Oh, we got a couple more. Hi, Annie. Here, let me pull this up over here. Sorry. I think they have these texts from way long ago. They just fight over whose kid gets to invent it. Oh, Annie. That's a great thought. Yeah, because like what DARPA is we see what DARPA does, like 20 years later, 25 years later. I've heard it reported as high as 50 years later. So that's a great point. I love that. Absolutely. All right, guys, I'm going to hop off of here. Sorry if this was, I just felt the need to come on. I said I would do a stream a day. we're not going to do reading room, CIA reading room documents anymore. I've learned that lesson. So I'll eat my small, juicy, small piece of humble pie. And the giant piece of humble pie for the remainder of the populace, especially psychological, cult recovery, psychiatrist community, that giant piece of pie can just get nice and dry. And I'll be ready to pour you a big glass of cold milk whenever you're ready. Let me know.